Hi, this is John with Bank Account Bonus Central, and today's video is all about why high school and college are a scam. I am a high school math teacher, and I'm telling all why it's a scam. So, before jumping in, I have a quick shout out to Steve Davis of Total Wealth Academy. Definitely appreciate it for the inspiration to make this video. Sit and think about what's really going on in the system, and I want to share with this as many people as I can. So my name is John. I'm about to start my 14th year of being a high school math teacher. Every year I go back to teach. I typically leave for the summer feeling a bit more jaded and cynical about the public and the private education system. I do put the private system in there as well because they're not much better, to be honest with you, than the public system. So, first piece is why it's a scam. Credit scores aren't part of the TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. They're not even taught in school. That's a number that follows you the rest of your life. Factoring polynomials are. Why is that? Well, scam. Second piece. Out of the roughly 180 days, I believe it's 178 days we get with students, there are about 144 of the days where there's some sort of official testing going on. That does include like my final for my courses. It's official testing. So some examples of that are SAT, ACT, ASVAB, AP, pre-AP, STAR testing twice a year, the never-ending TELPAS, DCAs, and a lot of other exams and acronyms I really don't care to remember because it still technically is summertime, but I do want to share this video with as many people as I can. So the STAR test is one that always gets me. I teach algebra. I get kids ready for the STAR test, and kids always ask me, hey, mister, how many questions do I need to get correct in order to pass this test so I can graduate? Well, I don't know, honestly, because they don't tell us the passing grade until everyone's already taken the test. They don't figure out what's passing until they figure out how everybody did. So, and since the testing companies, the cabal that run the public education system, they get paid by the test taken. They want to customize that number to get it just right. They don't want too many people passing because they won't retake the test, and they don't want too many people not passing because that doesn't make the teachers look right. So they got to get it just right where their profits are. So during COVID, this was definitely made clear as day. We have these road signs that have different messages, and during COVID it said COVID level red, stay safe, stay home. It's up for teachers because they can only do STAR testing in person. So high-ranking testing official, I was talking to her about testing, and they told me the testing companies already know what percent will pass the test based upon how they write the questions. That's all it is, and that is a huge scam. So understand it is the testing companies are the squirrels, and they're definitely getting their nuts. They're making their profits. They basically run the show. So there is that. But as bad as that is, and that is pretty bad, this video is not about any of that level of corruption. It's about something which I feel is definitely much worse. So what exactly is the point of the public and private education system, high schools and college? Well, CCMR. And you may be thinking, John, I don't remember no CCMR in high school or college. Well, CCMR stands for college or career, college, and military ready. So the goal of high schools is to get students ready for career. So for example, if you want to be a welder, you can go through the welding program and leave high school with a certificate and get a job. Get you ready for college, SAT, ACT, or military, ASVAB, right? So they want students going somewhere to do something. Now you may be thinking, hey John, what is wrong with that? Here's what's wrong with that. The point of CCMR is to prepare people to get a job, all right? So, brief tangent, why do people get paid? Well, people get paid to solve problems. If you solve little problems, you make little money. If you solve bigger problems, you make bigger money. That's just how the world works. In my oversimplified version of life, good people solve problems, bad people cause problems. So what exactly, now going back to where we're, what is a job? Well, a job is just over broke. And that doesn't do anybody any favors at all because that's literally what it is. I was talking to a deputy sheriff about what is a job. He said job, just over broke, and that's One of the biggest problems with that is this thing called lifestyle creep, which is a huge problem that honestly I think should be taught in the schools because, well, for example, what is lifestyle creep? If you make $40,000 a year and you live paycheck to paycheck, and then you get a raise to 50, and you still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because your lifestyle goes up to that level. You make 60,000, you're still paycheck to paycheck. 80,000, you're paycheck to paycheck still. You make 100,000 a year and you're still paycheck to paycheck. Well, what does that mean? That means your lifestyle, how much you spend, has crept up to your paycheck. What are you going to save? What are you going to retire on? Well, I have a business degree, and when I took a marketing course, the goal of marketing is to make you dissatisfied with what you have, so you always want to buy more. That is what our American consumer society is all about. 70% of our economy is based upon consumption. It's based upon people buying stuff. They want you to be dissatisfied. So, for example, if you're a boy, they want you to be a girl. If you're a girl, they want you to be a boy. If you're blonde, they want you to be a brunette. If you're this, they want you to be a that. Be dissatisfied with what you are so you can be something different to make you happy. Well, buy this, buy that. 1 Timothy 6:6. Well, the truth says, godliness with contentment is great gain. If you're doing what is right, what God has for you to do, love one another, love God, and you have content with what you have, that's a great gain. You don't have to run around searching for more and more and more. There is more storage facilities, storage units in this country than the entire world combined, which is a crazy statistic. People aren't satisfied with what they have. They just want more and more, and they pay people to store it, even so they don't even use what they have. So let's look at what the whole JOB thing has done, right? What percentage of Americans can afford a $1,000 emergency? About 59% cannot. This is adults. This is not kids. This is adults. About 59% cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. That's bad. People are so living to paycheck, they can't cover a $1,000 emergency. We just had the water heater in my house. It went out, and that was over $2,000. And when you have an emergency fund, that's called an inconvenience. If you're broke, that's called an emergency, right? So you want money set aside because things are going to go wrong. You're going to get a flat tire. Your car's going to break down. Your water heater is going to go out. Your fence is going to blow over from a derecho or a hurricane that comes over. We had part of our roof ripped off from Hurricane Beryl, which went over our house last year. Life happens. You need an emergency fund. What percent of Americans have no savings? So approximately 22% of Americans have no savings at all. 22%, 1 out of 4 basically, have no savings at all. Nearly half of American adults have less than 500 in their savings accounts. That's bad. That's really bad. Here's another statistic thing. So this one says 12%, 27% have less than 1,000. I mean, this is where a lot of people are, and it's broke. Broke is no joke. That's not a fun place to be. AI overview. So the majority of Americans rely on Social Security in retirement. Approximately 67% of seniors rely on Social Security for more than half of their income. 27% of older Americans rely solely on Social Security. So this means that people who have an education, they got their, they finished high school, they finished some college, they've been working for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're just relying on Social Security because they saved nothing. That is not good. This is something that definitely needs to be addressed. Well, you can say, hey, I got a college degree. If I make more money, that will fix it. Well, survey conducted in 2022 indicated 36% of Americans making over $250,000 were living paycheck to paycheck. That lifestyle creep goes up no matter how much money you have. But there's got to be a cure to that, and that's what this video is about. So, difficulty paying bills, making a lot of money. So what's the problem with the job? Well, here's what Warren Buffett says. He's been saying this for years and years. Never depend on a single income. Make investment to create a second source. That's Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world. So I think he knows a little bit or so, a lot about money. Excellent quotes about Warren Buffett. I want to point out 2 of them. On earning, never depend on a single income. Make investment to create a second source. Well, on saving, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. You got to make it a priority. If you read books such as Richest Man in Babylon, it definitely says, who do you work for? Who do you live for? If you look at your paycheck and where it's spent, who do you work for? How much goes to Amazon? How much goes to Walmart? How much goes to all these places? You're working to support these other people, but you're not working to support yourself or your family, and that's not good. So here is where the problem comes from. 1980s, before the 1980s, pensions. You worked for a company. You worked for like an ExxonMobil or Chevron or U.S. Steel or all these big companies, IBM. The companies, they had this thing called pension, which they would take care of your retirement. 1978 Revenue Act. So this act introduces the 401k, giving employees a new tax advantage way to save for retirement. That was when I was born, the year I was born. So it's been around for a good long while. In the 1980s, the companies began to shift away from the pensions to the 401k, and they said, "Hey, we're no longer responsible for your retirement. You're responsible for it." Modern era, well, people can't afford $1,000 for an emergency. How are you going to afford your own retirement? You can't. After the United States decided to get rid of expensive pensions for 401k and IRAs, they never taught the people who have to fend for themselves how to prepare for the retirement and success financially. They got rid of pensions, but they never taught people how to prepare for retirement. You're going to retire. So, well, maybe it's not always a bad thing that the government doesn't do this, because Milton Friedman has a quote. It says, "The government solution to a problem is usually as bad as the problem." Well, how is a broke government? How can a nation with that is about 37 trillion in debt teach personal finance success? Well, if you're living based upon, hey, if there's still checks in the checkbook, well, there's got to be money in the account. Well, that's not how it works. Schools don't teach that there are actually two levels of education needed. A person needs to be successful financially. So the first one is CCMR. We're doing okay with that. We're doing just fine. People are getting into college, they're getting into careers and stuff like that. But there's a limit to how many hours you can physically work. You can only work so much. The second can be summed up in what's called a child's game that you've most likely played many times. And that game is, have you ever played the game Monopoly? Well, this game right here. So this game teaches financial literacy. It teaches how to become successful financially. So CCMR, Career College Military Ready. You start here at Go, you go around the board, and every time you pass Go, you collect $200. That's just like every 2 weeks you collect your paycheck, or twice a month, or whatever. You collect your paycheck, you pass Go. But what happens here? Life happens out here. You land on Boardwalk or Park Place or any other one, you got to pay money unless you actually own it. So it's the people who own real estate that have cash flow on a monthly basis or a weekly basis or however it works, quarterly basis. You want income producing categories. It's not enough just to have a job where you pass Go and you collect your $200. Broke people do that. Try playing Monopoly, where you don't allow yourself to buy any properties, but everybody else buys properties. You're going to go bankrupt. That's the problem with this country. That's why high school and college are a scam, because they don't teach you. You need two ways to make money. Pass Go, make $200, but also you need to buy properties that make income so you can have more money. So it is impossible to win at Monopoly without investing in cash flowing real estate. It's simple as that. A child can understand that. So how many multimillionaires have real estate to thank? According to a report from the National Association of Realtors, approximately 90% of all millionaires in the U.S. have made their wealth at least in part through real estate investing. So that's a huge number. You want to look at what successful people do financially. If you have about 90% of all millionaires have at least in part made their money through real estate, maybe you should make some money in real estate as well. What's the solution? Have a second source of income and invest what you make. Don't just spend it all. You don't want to sing, I owe, so off to work I go. That's not a fun place to be. So I make a video every year. This video takes me a whole year to make. It's the most annoying video to make because I got to sit there and constantly updated how much I make per year. So basically, starting from January all the way to December, I teach people about how to make money off bank bonuses because banks pay people to be customers over and over and over again. So watch this video. I'll link it right here. I go through every single thing I do. None of these are difficult, right? You're going to get a direct deposit, most of everybody watching this video. So if you take that direct deposit, you turn it to its own side hustle, you'll see you can make a lot of money. So long story short, if you don't watch the video, I made a grand total of $31,490.17 on opening up new bank accounts. Plus, well, yeah, so basically I made that much. A whole bunch of it was tax-free. So that is a really fun and profitable thing. $31,490.17. My goal each year is $10,000. So imagine just making $10,000. I did that from year 1 all the way to year 8. So that's at least $80,000. So I made 31,000. Imagine how your life would be different with an almost 31,000. Multiply that by 10 years, and you have over $310,000. So that's a lot of money. And I'm nobody special. I'm just a high school math teacher. All right, so the solution part 2, make extra money, but instead of spending it, there's a scripture I like. It says, God gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Well, you got to have both. You know, you need bread to eat, but if you take seeds and you plant them, then you'll be able to have a lot more. So invest what you make from second source of incomes and put that into cash flowing real estate. And you may be saying, John, I'm one of these people. I don't have much money. I'm broke. I don't have time for tenants, toilets, and taxes. I don't have the desire to deal with that. Great. There is solutions to that, and I'm going to be talking about 2 of them. And these I consider both of them kind of like gateway drugs, for lack of a better term. That's what got me super excited about this. So 2 of them, Groundfloor. I had a interview with the CEO of Groundfloor, Brian Daly, phenomenal guy. So Groundfloor is all about fixing and flipping homes. That's basically shorter term gains. Lofty is rental homes. You can own pieces of rental homes, and that's more of long-term income. Both of them are super exciting. So here is Lofty. They call themselves the NASDAQ for real estate. So automatically receive rental income. You'll get your first rent payment the same day you invest, and then on a daily basis after that. So your holdings will grow along with the property value as well. I put a little bit into here. I kind of like Groundfloor better. But if you look at some of these properties, and these are just some random properties. So this one, I'm getting old, my eyes. All right, so this one's got 20% projected annual return. So if you put in $100, it'll be worth 120 at the end of 1 year. That's really good. Your bank's not going to pay you that. Fairland. So you got 14.6% projected annual return. This one right here, Wilshire, has a 23.1% projected annual return. These are some real huge returns. So this one right here, West Zoe LOA, 21.2 projected annual return. This is one I personally know, Pluton. I like mispronouncing words just for the sake of it, sometimes to be annoying. But I talk about Pluton is a planet, always will be. So when I got a chance to buy Pluton, I got into Pluton, even though it doesn't make money. So here's ones that I own. So I do own a piece of Pluton, and it's made me 4.9%. I could probably do better in a money market account, but hey, I just wanted a part of Pluton just for the heck of it. Right here, farmland. This one's gone up a fair amount, 17%. This one in Florida has gone up 13.38%. So this is just as of today. And these are really not difficult to get into. There's not big money in here. $41, $59, $48. And on a daily basis, you get money that you can collect. And then once you get enough, then you can buy more shares of these. So I do have a referral for this. Here is the referral link. I don't think anybody wants to open up a new tab and then type all this fun stuff in. So I got a QR code, link in the description box down below, or you could always email me at churningadventures@gmail.com. So that's the first one. Lofty, they're a lot more sophisticated. They deal with not Bitcoin, but they do have a way to do credit card funding. What else would I say? So when you click the referral link, here's what it's going to say. This one's a lot more sophisticated. Your friend just gifted you $50 worth of real estate. I'm giving you 50 bucks. You got to use that gift certificate within 7 days, right? So just for watching this video, sign up, invest in a property of your choice, and start earning rent today. Act fast, your gift certificate expires in 7 days. So that's 50 bucks in real estate from me to you. If you use my referral link, you'll get an extra, an instant 50 bucks. If you invest 250 bucks or more, I'll also get 50 bucks to invest. So they also do have credit card funding as an option. So sometimes if you're looking to do you got to spend a certain amount and you get a huge sign up bonus, consider putting money into Lofty. That's definitely a really interesting way to make money. So I made a full video on Lofty talking about it. Rental home investing, you can get a $50 bonus just for clicking on the link. So link to that video is right there. The next one is my favorite, Groundfloor. So my name is John right here. I'm inviting you to Groundfloor. If you invest 100 bucks, you'll get a $50 Groundfloor credit. This is about people buying homes, they're finding them, they're fixing them, they're flipping them, and you invest in them. So I plug Groundfloor in almost every video because I think it's important to have a piece of real estate, to learn and how to make money off of other people's work. I don't really care for tenants, taxes, and toilets. I've dealt with family-owned rental properties in the past, and I'm selling one right now. But if you look here, the gains are real. 12.42%. That's backed by real estate. Can your stock market account say that for up and down years? Well, probably not. I've made annualized return 12.2 since beginning. So since you opened your investor account, I've been making 12.2%. Those are real. That's not garbage. That's real money. I opened up a Roth IRA so to have all my money going into Groundfloor. So all my gains are going to be tax free. So if you invest in Groundfloor, you get invest $100, you get a $50 bonus. They gave me a custom link, which is right here. You can easily open up a new tab, type that in, hit the QR code, hit the link in the description box down below, or you could always email me at churningadventures@gmail.com. Those to me, I definitely consider to be a gateway. Investing in Groundfloor has been a gateway to the other question that you may not have thought about. Well, great, I can get paid 12% and it's fun. I don't have to deal with fixing the home, flipping it, dealing with all the headaches of dealing with contractors. But think about, why in the world would somebody pay over 12% to get what's called a hard money loan? Unless the house is in like perfect condition where it can be rented out, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, they will not touch that type of loan. They just won't. So you have to get what's called a hard money loan. That's for people who find homes, they fix them and they flip them, or for long term, which is buy homes, fix them, and rent them, which is something I'm interested in doing. So why do people do that? Because they end up making a lot more than 12%. Well, that's your answer. And this week, I am proud to announce that I have applied for a hard money lender, and I got my pre-approval letter. So when I go looking for properties where I can make money in 4 different ways for rental homes, if I buy the home for less than what it's worth, I get this thing called equity capture. So if I buy a house for 200 and it's worth 250, I just made 50 grand. That's almost what I make as a whole year as a high school math teacher. I can make that just in one piece, one of the 4 ways. So you can get equity capture. The back end, you want equity capture on the front end, you want cash flow on the back end. So if I get a renter paying every month, that's called cash flow. And on top of that, when they pay their mortgage, part of it goes towards the principal. That's called principal pay down. And then you also have appreciation, which means the value of the property does go up. Real estate tends to double in value between every 20 to 25 years. So I bought my house in 2005 for $138,590, and now it's worth around $350,000. So it goes up, which is a very beautiful thing. I began putting together a team of realtors, wholesalers, general contractors, finance, insurance, property managers. It's a lot to do this whole thing. But I'm putting together a team. Nobody becomes successful on their own. This is the journey that I've officially begun, to go from a high school math teacher to a real estate investor. There's actually 2 paths to go on. I'll talk about that in a second. Over the 8 years that I've been opening up bank accounts and making money off of this and teaching others how to do the same, I've saved and invested almost all of it. My family went kind of nuts in 2021. We spent over $10,000 in chase points going to resorts, which was really fun. But you can either be team travel or team cashback. I'm currently team cashback right now. So besides stuff like that, I've definitely saved and invested and watched it grow and watched it grow, which is a really fun thing. I've taken the seed money to begin this journey into real estate investing. So my wife and I are debating between just complete passive investing, like Groundfloor and Lofty. That's complete passive investing. There's ways to get into things like apartment complexes, senior living facilities, and storage facilities. Anything that has cash flow, where you invest with somebody who's fixing, rehabbing, and then fixing up apartment complexes. It's just like buying a stock, where you put money in with them and then you get paid afterwards once the deal's done. Or semi-passive, which is actually finding homes, fixing them, and renting them, and having a property manager manage those. So we're still debating between one of those. There's a lot to learn about switching careers into real estate investing. I will say that who you let influence and mentor you makes the biggest impact on your life. You become who you hang with, and nobody's what's called a self-made person. If you want to be a doctor, well, a doctor's got to go to medical school and hang around doctors. If you want to be a real estate investor, you got to hang around real estate investors to learn from other people's mistakes, and more importantly, you want to learn from people's successes. So yeah, you want to be influenced by people who are successful in what they do. So that's where I'm going into this. Am I saying being wealthy is the end all be all? Of course not. You can make a lot of money doing a lot of different things. That's not the point of this. The point of this is not just to pursue money, but I just want to say high school and college are a scam because so many people are just living hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. But there has to be a better way of living than straight from hand to mouth. We live in the United States of America. This is the richest country in the history of the world. And you got so many people who are broke. That just says that the current system is a scam because it's broken. They don't teach how to become successful. So it's to people like me on YouTube University that people can learn how to become successful in more than just CCMR, have a job, IO, so off to work I go. So bank account, bonus central, verdict and all this. I just love investing in real estate. I plan on making it my new career. The second part of playing Monopoly in real life, not just passing go and collecting $200 and letting lifestyle creep erode any savings towards retirement, but actually succeeding in the game of finances. Join me in real estate investing. $50 free for Lofty. If you put $100 into Groundfloor, after 30 days you get $50 on top of that. So on top of that, it's a gateway drug to show you, hey, these gains are real. I still have comments off for these videos, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, if you want to continue this conversation, please email me, churningadventures@gmail.com, and I'll definitely get back to you rather quickly. Today's question, talking a lot about investing. What is the ultimate investment? Well, it's not real estate. Matthew 6. Don't store up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves can break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy us, and thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The most important thing is not to be rich financially, but to have a rich relationship with the Lord. Because ultimately, the day you die, you will be seeing him face to face and give an account. Additional information about this, how to follow Jesus, gotquestions.org, link in the description box down below. If you're interested, still here with me, definitely appreciate it. Excuse me, trying to save that for after recording. Anyway, like the video if you appreciate profitable content on a consistent basis. Share this with anybody who would be able to benefit from it. Subscribe with bell notifications so you can be amongst the first to learn about such profitable opportunities. And with that, look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace, and may God bless you.